Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead!
Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates! And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football, proudly sponsored by Starnut Apparel. My name is Angus. Today I'm joined by Euan. Euan, how are you doing, man?
All right.
Good.
I feel like the team's broken me, man. I feel like the team has broken me after Saturday. Yeah. I was along at Rugby Park. I don't know if you can guess from my tone that I was along at Rugby Park on Saturday. Yeah, there wasn't many positives to take from it. But as always, we will talk about it as usual. But nah, in all seriousness, I'm all good, apart from obviously need to talk about Livingston FC again this week. But Angus, what about yourself, mate? How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm feeling the effects of playing two full 90-minute games in centre mid one day
Ouch.
after another, which is, I don't think the old body's been used to that for many a year now. So, just kind of hobbling about the now as well. But
When
You know,
Angus
the-
uses the term old body to somebody that's, what, 5 or 6 years older than you?
But also, it's not all doom and gloom. Obviously our women's team won, away to Ayr with a very, makeshift squad. A lot of rotation in there. So very congratulations to them. And yeah, the weather's good at least now, Ewan, and Livingston isn't, well, in the kind of area. So there's at least started to kind of take prejudice into that's the way that we're looking at things now, Ewan. We've not got really too much on the men's football side, to keep us happy. But we'll talk about that. GS as well, also free each with Motherwell with a bare bones squad. Guy with a broken toe, Dosser scoring a late equaliser. That's the commitment that you're looking for. So good credit to the guys for that as well. As always, you can find this episode as well as all of our others on your preferred podcast streaming site. So just search for Talk Livi and follow us or subscribe to ensure you don't miss another episode.
We'll sadly kick the episode off by discussing Livy's trip to Rugby Park as our away day woes continued against Kilmarnock.
With the season drawn to a close, we discuss our Player of the Year options. First up on this episode will be for the women's side.
And finally, we look ahead to our penultimate home game of the campaign as we welcome Dundee United to Tony Macaroni Arena.
The Lions made a trip to Rugby Park for the final instalment of El Plastico. It would be more away day woes as the Lions suffered a 7th straight away league defeat without a goal scored as the game finished 2-0. Ewan, I think every listener has an idea of how you're feeling about this one. On you go. Let's hear your thoughts.
Well, the fact that they lost 2-0 kept the stats easy that we're still averaging 2 goals a game conceded since the start of February. Yeah, 7th away defeat in a row without scoring, equalled a top flight record. You were 1 game away from breaking that. I don't know if that's a positive that we hold the record in our own right. It was really poor at Rugby Park. Don't get me wrong, first half I thought we actually were okay in possession at times. To kind of talk about the starting 11, saw Luigi De Lucas come in at centre back for Morgan Boys. I believe Morgan Boys was ill during the week, so he paired up with Jack Fitzwater. Midfield 3 saw Shinnie obviously Andrew Shinnie signed a contract extension for next season, which was some positive news earlier in the week, playing alongside Sean Kelly and Jason Holt. And then we almost played a kind of narrow 2 inside 10s with Stephen Kelly and Scott Pittman and behind Joel Newbley. And I felt after listening to Martin on our preview for the game, he talked about in particular the wide areas Kilmarnock have struggled defensively, kind of playing a 3 at the back so regularly. So I felt like we almost played into Kilmarnock's hands a little bit by playing so narrow. We had a kind of distinct lack of width, albeit Stephen Kelly I thought was fairly productive in a position that's probably not that natural to him, but we've seen him play it on a number of occasions so far this season. He kind of had first any intent from us attacking wise. He managed to create an opportunity for himself from the edge of the box. He's dragged the shot wide though. But I felt Kilmarnock, despite not looking fantastic in the first half, I think they still created by far and away the better opportunities in the game. Vassell caused us a lot of problems just purely because of his physicality. I think in particular up against the Lucas, he bullied him a little bit physically. And I think that's something Luigi's going to have to learn in Scottish football, is the physicality side of things, with a lot of centre forwards that he's going to come up against. But Vassell kind of shrugged them off, had a 1v1, which Jamal George has made a decent save from. He's made another save kind of from the edge of the box from Vassell as well. And then there was a header which the young lad Watson probably should have actually done a bit better with. Montano kind of switched off for that. So I think at half-time, 0-0 was maybe just about a fair reflection. But second half, Kilmarnock came out. We've talked about this. They're a team with a lot to play for at this stage of the season in terms of trying to stay in the league. And they came out with a lot of intent. Got the goal very early in the second half from Vassell. Jason Holt's gone sprinting out of position to try and win the ball. It's been popped round. I think the Lucas is, again, physically, Doidge has done him a little bit. And I think Jack Fitzwater's almost gambled on the Lucas winning the ball. And it's given Vassell that half yard in behind him. Jamal George, I think, has to do better with the strike as well. I don't think he's covered himself in a great deal of glory with that. And then we did have a kind of half chance where Newbley's done really well to create it for himself, kind of squirming his way along the byline, and it's Walker's made a save which kind of tipped it onto the post. But then the penalty just kills us. And once again, I think that's the third penalty that Holt's given away for handball this season since VAR's come in. I think Aberdeen, St Mirren, and now Kilmarnock, and they're all very similar. It's blocking a shot, turning round, arms in the air. And I get there's probably not a great deal you can do about it, but it's maybe something we need to be very wary of, because I'm losing track of the amount of handball penalties we've given away since VAR's come into play. And then Armstrong's tucked it away pretty comfortably. Granted, we had a couple of efforts later on. Stephen Kelly had a free kick, which Sam Walker's made a decent save from, and DeLucas has had a header, which was deflected onto the bar, which, by the way, I can't believe a corner wasn't given as a result from it. It was one of the clearest deflections you'll see. But we didn't deserve anything from the game. I think Kilmarnock bullied us. I feel they really bullied us about the pitch, and we talked about this away at St Mirren. I felt we got bullied. Away at Motherwell, I feel we got bullied. It's becoming a recurring theme, and it's something we as fans don't associate with this Livingston team, is getting bullied by teams and not doing the ugly side of the game well. And as I say, Kilmarnock thoroughly deserved the 3 points, I thought. And I don't know what it is with this team at this moment in time. I'm feeling a bit like the manager. And kind of his post-match, he just seems absolutely scunnered and seems a bit bewildered as to what's going on. He's tried changing the shape, he's tried changing the personnel within the shape, and just nothing seems to be working in particular away from home. And it's not even the run of results away from home. You know, go back to our first couple of seasons in the top flight. I think between the 2 seasons, we won 3 games away from home. But we had some really good performances away from home. We still picked up some decent results. You know, like we went to Tynecastle 3 times and drew. We went to Celtic Park and drew. You know, we went to Pittodrie, got results. Went to Easter Road, got results. So it wasn't like we were not competitive away from home. I feel like we're uncompetitive away from home just now. it's really poor. And there was 97 Livingston fans, and I feel for every single one of us that was in that ground on Saturday, because the performances, and I hate having a go at the team because I fully believe in kind of the supporter mentality and you should back the team, but it's not good enough just now. And regardless if we've not got a lot to play for, fans are still going along and paying decent money to go and watch the team. So we're expecting some performances between now and the end of the season. And I feel the fans deserve just that. And it's all well and good the manager coming out and apologising, but I think a lot of it needs to go on to the players as well, because there's only so much the manager can do, in my opinion. I've spoken to Davey multiple times doing this podcast, and the work ethic the guy shows is unbelievable. So I do not believe for a second that he's down in tools between now and the end of the season. And by the way, I still don't believe that would be the case with the players. I'm sure they've got win bonuses and things like that to play for. But as a fan sitting in the stand watching the team, especially in these last few weeks away from home, you can't help but come to that conclusion. It's really difficult not to. And yeah, it's just becoming really, really frustrating. And I don't think it's any wonder that fans aren't turning up to go to these away games, in particular with the recent performances. It's just so frustrating, because we know fine well this team's better than that.
Pretty spot on with everything there. Even having the manager come out and he's basically said that, there's not nearly enough people doing their jobs properly at this moment. I think that tells you all you really need to know is that, it's not been acceptable, and, bad runs of form happen and stuff like this, but, how long this has been going on for, no goals scored away from home since January, is it? Absolutely brutal. And it's not as if you'd even say that, we're properly looking as if we're going to cause teams issues. Like, that's one of the main problems of it as well. You can have runs where you're just unfortunate, you're just unlucky or whatnot. Right now, it's not that at all. It's just a lack of quality. It's a lack of care on the ball. It's just so poor overall. I think it just consistently gets me, kind of watching them right now is, how many passes are we doing that are just going straight out for like throw-ins and stuff like that? Like, we're not even doing, we're talking about basics of football and all that. You've obviously touched on the side of, being competitive and working hard and everything like that. When we've got the ball, it's dreadful at times, easy like 10-yard passes, no communication, going straight out for throw-ins and stuff like that. It's hard to watch, it's painful to watch, and yeah, I don't really know what to think about it at the moment, because it does just seem as if, everybody's just kind of chucked the season. And if that's the case, then, fair enough. We'll try our best to remember this campaign for, for the earlier parts. But it's just incredibly frustrating that, the season's petering out this way. There's a lot of players who deserve a lot more kind of credit for that, especially for their times at the club. And it's sad to see, it kind of run out in this kind of fashion. But yeah, we're come on like the last couple of months now, Euan, and it's the same old things that are happening. The teams have been switched up. Maybe there's some more players in the fringes who maybe need some game time or that to possibly try them out. Yeah, I really don't know what to say about this. There's not really much more that you haven't covered. It's just such a strange one at this moment, because we've never ever considered, Livingston as being that kind of team. We've had seasons before previously where there's not really been anything left to play for. We look at last season when we missed it in the top six, how amazingly we did, in those final running games. Even when the likes of that first season that we came up and it was, inevitable that, the Gallagher, Halkett and that would be leaving, we'd be losing like a good core of the squad. Still never ever gave up there as well. It's just incredibly frustrating in that way. Again, it's the performances. The performances is what's the main issue within all of this, and I don't think that there's any justifying it. And my one concern that's going to happen with this is, what sometimes like fans can be like, that it turns kind of nasty in that kind of way. We've secured, Premiership football for another season, but the way that this season's going, it may be turning people off of, renewing season tickets, or from, properly supporting team, or, kind of going to that uglier side and, publicly criticising players or the manager and stuff like that, where like, the team deserve a lot more credit. They have a lot more credit in the bank than, these probably this couple of months. But it's just that not good enough at the end of the day. And there's not really much more we can say about it, is there?
As I say, it's very difficult. You kind of mentioned it there. I'm talking about you're asking fans to go to these games and back the team, in particular away from home. It's not cheap going and following the team week in, week out. And to be honest, I can absolutely understand why folk wouldn't want to go just now. The performances away from home have been that poor since kind of tail end of January. Why would you be paying this money to go and watch the team? And you've mentioned it there. It's maybe being slightly over dramatic, but talking about, you're asking folk to fork out money to renew a season ticket at this moment in time as well. And if fans aren't feeling like they're getting a team going into next season that are going to produce the goods and give that kind of fight and desire, which we've become accustomed with a Livingston team over the last kind of 5, 6 years, 7 years, then, folk might not bother to renew their season ticket. And every season ticket that Livy get is very valuable money in terms of going towards a budget for next season, which we already know Davies kind of talked about a lot in the press and media, that it's going to be significantly less for next season. So we can't afford to be losing supporters to this kind of bad run of form. And I feel the next couple of home games, to be honest, I'm absolutely thrilled that our next couple of games are at home because, as I say, the performances in particular away from home have been so poor. But granted, we've produced some relatively decent performances at home in the last couple of months. I'll use the games against Ross County, Dundee United back in March, and then the recent kind of St Johnstone game at home, we produced some decent performances and decent results to kind of match that as well. So I'm a bit more looking forward to that. But yeah, it's very frustrating, and it gives us this kind of, if we carry on this form going into the start of next season, it could be a recipe for disaster. And that's what really concerns me, because a load of folk are saying, oh, why doesn't Davy make 7, 8, 9 changes to the team? To be fair, he can't. And folk are saying, oh, Davy keeps talking about players not being there. There's only really 2 in that 11 that for a fact aren't going to be there next season, which is Devlin and Fitzwater. The rest of that team is all under contract for next season. So, these are guys that are going to be at the football club next year. You can't use that, they're not going to be here. They are going to be here. They're under contract. Unless they've got other intentions to go elsewhere, then they are under contract as a Livingston player for next year. So they need to be putting in the performances in that case for me. And Davy made a comment that he felt he might need to go out and get some more players than he thought he would in the summer, which is going to prove even more difficult because we've talked about the budget. So what I find so frustrating about this run of form is that group of players were sitting pushing on 3rd place only a few months ago. I think after that Kilmarnock game, we'd gone 4th. They are more than capable. Which is what is making this so frustrating as a fan. This recent run of results, they are more than capable of producing better performances than they are. And I think they just need a couple of results. They need something to go for them in the next few games to try and breathe a little bit of life back into the side going into these final 3 games, because we need something positive to finish off this season, I feel, because it's really going out in a whimper, and it's so frustrating as a fan to watch what looked like such a promising campaign peter out the way it is. And as I say, I actually feel for the manager, because listening to Davies post-match at the weekend, like 2nd week in a row, he looked scunnered. He looked absolutely scunnered with the performances and kind of what's going on week, in particular away from home.
Yeah, there's genuinely not really much more we can say. It's just the characteristics of this team. What's changed? It's essentially like a different team in the 2 half of the seasons. Remember, I used this example the last time that we were on, going away from that Hearts game, even though we just conceded in the last minute, the positivity going into that break, thinking that, we had a real great chance of, pushing into not even just top 6, but, 4th place, 3rd place even. Something's just changed. I don't know what's happened. Feel for, I'd imagine the coaching staff are working tirelessly to try and get something, on the go. But for whatever reason, it's just not going ahead. But again, we've just got to keep on supporting the team, and hopefully things will be made right. And I guess that starts with Dundee United, which we'll preview in a little bit.
We're delighted to have Strana Apparel as sponsors of Talk Livi. UK based with a Swedish soul, we are Strana. Strana is an independent fashion brand from Scotland who create high quality and stylish attire for on and off the terraces. Inspired by terrace culture, lifestyle and music, all their clothing is designed using quality materials and workmanship to combine the very best style and fit. All of this means you get a premium quality fashion at affordable prices while enjoying a simple and secure service.
As a bonus for Talk Livi listeners, you can get 10% off your order using the code TalkLivi at the checkout. We'll also have some exclusive giveaways during the season, so keep your eyes peeled on our socials for those too. And thanks to Strana for sponsoring Talk Livi.
As the season draws to a close, it's the time for awards to be handed out in the form of Player of the Year. This week we'll discuss the awards for our women's side. Angus, who would you say are the contenders for Player of the Year?
A very good season for the team. And I think you've probably got off the back of that then, quite a good number of candidates, who can go forward for that. Attacking players, midfielders, centre backs, I think that, the way the formation's been working as well, plenty of people kind of, who the kind of like mainstay regulars are. I guess I'll start off with who I think is Player of the Year. Or should I do that kind of later on?
Go through some contenders first before let's create a bit of suspense for the listeners, Angus.
Cool. Okay, I'll start off. I'll start off with Ashley Elizabeth up top first. Obviously, Ashley came into the club last season and was absolutely tremendous. It just seemed as if she was scoring every single game. Can't remember how many goals that she ended up on. I don't know how too far off she is for this one. But I think she got 17 goals so far this season. I feel like she may have been in the 20 mark last year. But what I would say about Ashley this season, I feel like that her overall game's properly improved. I feel that she's really worked on the kind of more physical side, coming in and getting the ball, trying to create things to happen. And I think that's something that I've been a lot more impressed with this year, as opposed to, just kind of scoring goals. And it seems as if last season it was goal, 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 goal. Maybe not so much this season, but I think that, we kind of talked about it with some players who play for us up top, and that it's about, getting that Livingston striker to have, the kind of complete kind of game in a way. And I think that Ashley's really, really improved on that. And I think that she's been an incredible asset for us this season. I think with that, though, as well, you have to talk about Jen Dodds, who's obviously her strike partner, who's had, maybe quite a undersung season, I would say, actually. I think, at times it was when they were trying to find out a kind of formation, if they were sort of trying to go away from the 3-5-2, maybe to a 4-2-3-1 or whatever, she was one of the ones who could quite easily kind of just follow the team. But the performances that she had was always, very, very good. And it was just kind of unfortunate in that way. I think for Jen as well, she's about 13 goals this season as well. And as another player who's just, incredibly classy, does a lot of hard work kind of off the ball. And just kind of gets into the right positions to create goals. And that's what you're looking for. And, having those two up front has been a real difference maker. And, you're talking about 30 goals between your two main strikers is absolutely tremendous. And yes, I think that for some strikers, you can kind of see that, the players rely just kind of on the goals. But I think it's good to see that, we've got two players who are, more than willing to go in and get involved in the build-up and get involved in, winning the ball back and stuff like that. And maybe with some more service for that, we actually have more goals themselves as well, to be fair. But yeah, I guess I'll come to you, Euan, if you want to list off any other candidates. Obviously, there's more I would like to talk about, but just so you're not just hearing my voice this entire time, I want to give you the chance to speak about something positive as well. Any midfielders that by any chance you're a fan of?
Yeah, I mean, I deserve to speak about something positive after witnessing what I did on Saturday. But no, I kind of agree with you. I think both Ashley and Jen have had very productive seasons, and I also echo what you said. I would always say Jen was maybe the better of the two in terms of trying to link the game and drop off into little pockets to pick up the ball. But I think that's something, as you say, Ashley Elizabeth, that's been a massive progression in her game this season in terms of trying to link the game between kind of middle to front. And yeah, as you say, maybe not the same level of number of goals as they got last season, but I think their overall contribution's probably been slightly better this campaign. In terms of slightly further back, I think a player that's made a massive difference to the side since signing back in November has been Brogan Anderson. I think she's really, really classy player, and you can tell she's played higher up the pyramid in the women's game as well. I think we signed her from Motherwell, who are playing SWPL 1 just now. So I think Brogan's a really classy act in the middle of the park, and talking about linking the game in between middle to front, I think that's basically her perfect position, is in that little pocket as a number 10. And I think that's probably allowed Ashley and Jen to focus on what they're very good at, which is getting some goals. And I feel there's been a bit more of a fluidity with the team since Brogan's come in, certainly from the games that I've been able to get along and watch. And yeah, I think she's been a really good addition and will be a very good addition to the squad going forward as well. In terms of other players, I'm a big fan of Gemma Mason. She's been in and out the side quite a lot this campaign, but I do feel they are a better team when Gemma's playing. I think she, again, helps in terms of getting the ball down and playing through the thirds a lot more. She picks the ball up off the back three quite a lot. She does that really effectively, I think, and is good at spraying the play about, but she also does chip in with the odd absolute thunder bastard as well at times. I think she scored one from just about the centre circle earlier in the season against Rossvale. A couple of unbelievable strikes she had just fairly recently, actually, in the game against Renfrew. Fantastic free kick.
A free kick in that area, one person's taking it, right?
Exactly. And the goal I actually remember most fondly, I think, was against Hutchie Vale right at the start of the season, where she caught it on her left foot from the edge of the box, right in the postage stamp in the top corner, which well, I'm sure we'll come on and talk about maybe goals of the season, but that's certainly one of my contenders in there. So I think Gemma deserves a shout as well, because as I say, I think she makes a massive difference to the team when she does play.
Gemma, with those moments, pops up at the right time and, has gained some crucial goals in, games that we've ended up coming back in that as well. Brogan as well, massive fan of Brogan. I think she's a great wee player, very enjoyable to watch, looking to get on the ball, very positive. And I think that, in recent weeks as well, she's been kind of put in different kind of positions as well. I think the last few games she's been, kind of like an actual centre mid, as like a 10, as like a right, one of the right wing backs at one point as well, and also playing up front at times as well. And just having that kind of that attitude of being coming from like the top level, but being more than happy to do a job anywhere else is a great trait to have. And I think that she's a very, very good player who we're lucky to have as well. I guess we may as well talk about the other centre mid, who's usually the third person in that kind of midfield trio as well, Shan Mulligan, who has had a plethora of big moments this season, plenty of goals this year. I think it's 14 with I think 6 assists as well. Shannon always just kind of pops up. She's that kind of player who has that kind of natural instinctive run, who can get into the right place at the right time, and has had the quality to to put teams away at many moments. And I think she's somebody else as well who will be firmly up there in terms of candidates for Player of the Year. The BBC Alba thing, we just did a wee documentary. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was very, very insightful to see as well, hearing from the player about like that kind of journey and all of that. And I would say, like, for Shannon, I think I would like to maybe see her get on the ball a little bit more, but maybe it kind of seems a bit like that, maybe that kind of like a Frank Lampard kind of role, where it's like, those kind of runs into the box, or, kind of getting into those dangerous areas to then punish teams is the main kind of bulk of that. It's just kind of getting the ball into those kind of areas for her to get to finish off and stuff like that. But yeah, also as well, going into the back line, I think we have to mention Jess Murphy 100%, because I think about the stats here, I think she's got 8 goals, Euan, and also 6 assists from centre back, which is pretty ridiculous for a centre back. And I'm going to assume that most of the assists that she has is for winning balls from corners or free kicks and stuff like that. But
yeah, I would assume they've all come off her noggin. Like
if she scored one of those goals with her feet, I'll be very, very surprised. But not even just that, in terms of like the defensive kind of shape and stuff like that, the kind of the leadership qualities at the back. You always kind of hear her talking to the players in front of her, those last-ditch challenges that she loves doing, loves a big slide tackle. I think that she's really stepped up this season and had a really, really tremendous campaign. Really, really kicked on this season as well. I think that she's been absolutely tremendous all around. And obviously we've got Natasha Frew, captain as well. And I think that last season, Jess and Tash they were playing the opposite. I think Tash was in the middle and Jess was on the right. And I think that for their qualities, they're probably been better off switched. And, that's happened this season as well. And I think that Tash's game has been helped with that as well. Likes to kind of get on the ball, likes to kind of drive out of the defence with it as well. And again, I think Natasha's had a very, very good season as well, and deservedly lifting up the trophy as captain as well. But yeah, very, very solid defender as well, very hard working. Good to see, I think those two at the back have been the kind of the mainstays there, the kind of the third centre halves kind of changed throughout the time. But I think that, the way that they two have played alongside one another has been very, very good. I think that kind of covers most of the part of it, Euan. Was there anybody else who you would like to? I mean, everybody's had played a part and everything like that. You talk about likes of Lucy, Beth, and stuff like that who have contributed massively. But
funny, you've taken two names straight out of my mouth, which was Beth Mackay and Lucy Brown. I think they've been really good when I've seen them this season. Beth's obviously joined slightly later in the season, but she's chipped in with a few kind of crucial goals as well. Remember a goal that she got over at Rossvale when they won 3-2, which was a massive win in the context of kind of winning the league this season. And Lucy Brown, I think, is really good as well, gives a lot of flexibility out in the wings. And I think we kind of spoke about last year playing the 3-5-2 and maybe not having that natural width or a left footer as well. So I think Beth's added a little bit of balance there.
My nightmare for this team for the past season and a half was like, somebody use their left foot, please.
But I think that's exactly where Beth's added a little bit of balance there, and Lucy's quite comfortable going on either foot as well. So I think they've been very good for the team as well. But in particular, the back three have been immense this season, and I agree with you. I think that little switch between Jess and Tash has proved very beneficial to the side. I think it suits their kind of skill set a little bit better, playing in with Jess being the kind of anchor of that back three. And if I was to pick somebody as my player of the year this year, it would be Jess Murphy. I think she's an absolute rock at the back, as you say, kind of chipped in with 8 goals and 6 assists for a centre back as well, is pretty impressive. But more importantly, I think she's been so solid at the back, and the amount of kind of crucial interceptions she makes, or those last ditch slide tackles, as you mentioned, I think she's been an absolute standout this season and would be very deserving of a Player of the Year award.
I'm unfortunately going to have to agree with you because this is going to go straight to her head. But I think that one of the things that has been kind of a key thing that's happened this season, Euan, is we've came on and talked about the team, and it's been a battle. It's not been a pretty game of football and stuff like that. It's been a battle, and I think that Jess really encapsulates that. Leading from the back, those kind of hard challenges and stuff like that. The amount of games that there's maybe only been like 1 or 2 goals within it. The defensive qualities and stuff like that have really, really shone through. And I think that added bonus of when we've got a set piece or that, it's always an absolute threat. It was one of the games, maybe was it last month or 2 months ago, we were 1-0 down. Was it against Stryber, I believe? 2 corners and steps up. One header is tapped in by Raywin on the line, and the other's put away by herself. So that kind of thing that happens. I think that kind of season, throughout the whole season, I think that consistency, I think Jess is maybe just kind of, I think between Jess and Tash, it's just been kind of stepped above the kind of the rest of maybe the more attacking players there, I would say. And I'm going to give the edge to Jess as well there. But an absolutely tremendous campaign nonetheless, right?
Oh, it's been a fantastic campaign, and the win at the weekend, as you mentioned, they made several changes to the side and still managed to go away to Ayr and pick up a very good win, 1-0 away from home. It was apparently a very good goal from Jen Dodds that managed to get the 3 points there.
I've heard it's a bit of a fumble, in all honesty.
Oh, is it? Right, okay. I was trying to give Jen credit. Look at you.
Well, she's going to slag me off or something anyway, so don't worry about it.
But yeah, I think that kind of says, as you say, it's been quite a big squad effort on the whole from the team, and making that many changes and still going to get the result. And I think it probably helps that there's a little bit of pressure off the team now that they have clinched the title and promotion. So yeah, it's been a thoroughly fantastic campaign from the girls. talked about kind of goal of the season contenders, Angus. You've managed to make a few more games than I have this season. Any goals that really stand out for you?
I'm going to have a quick wee think about it. You obviously alluded to Gemma Mason, right? Would you like to talk us through that one, or do you have any others off the top of your head?
Well, Gemma's goals against Rossvale from probably just round about the centre circle where she's lobbed the keeper. That was an unbelievable effort, and it came out of absolutely nothing, as you can imagine. And a goal, thoroughly enough, 2 goals in the same game would be in my goal of the season contenders. Another one from Gemma, which got rolled her from the corner. It's kind of popped up on her left foot in a half volley. She's put it in the top corner. And then in the same game, Shannon Mulligan scored an unbelievable volley from the edge of the box. She's put it in the top right-hand corner. So those would probably be the goals. There's a few goals in there that I reckon are decent contenders.
I believe there's one that I can remember, a video. I think it was a weighted Renfrew, I think it was like Lucy Brown scored a goal from range, and I can always just remember it mainly for obviously being like a great finish, but the subsequent celebrations, people asking, "Oh, did you mean it?" and stuff like that. She's like, "Yeah, of course I meant it." In that,
I was at that game at Renfrew, Angus, and I think I remember coming on this podcast and saying, "Looks like a great finish. I don't know if it's meant or not." So only Lucy can truthfully tell us if the goals were meant, because she scored 2 kind of very similar goals actually in that game, just opposite sides of the park. One was lobbed into the far top corner, and then one she lobbed in front of where I was standing, so at the opposite end. So yeah, only Lucy can confirm if those are genuine contenders or if they were cheeky crosses.
I think for that one as well, 4-1 away to Renfrew, that's setting down like a marker as well. Very, very pivotal at that time of the season. I believe there was one that Gemma scored, and it was from the left-hand side. I don't know if it was, did they take a free kick and it bounced? No, but it had a corner and then it rolled back out to her. She took a touch, kind of like, do you remember Lee Griffiths' goal against Falkirk for Hibs in the semi-final? It was like that kind of fashion. It rolled out. I have this memory of this. I don't know if it was straight from a free kick or if it was. I feel like it must have been on the volley, because
once again, Angus with his on-ball reporting.
If Gemma could just stop scoring the same identical wonder strike every game, it'd be much easier to remember. I mean, I think maybe we should just call this goal of the season the Gemma Mason Award for that reason. In all honesty, but I do remember the Shannon one as well. The volley. Yeah, there's a great kind of selection of ones there. I wonder if the media team's kind of working on, compiling like a goal compilation. You maybe see, a great like kind of montage of these. But I guess you also got to mention, from the free each draw, the one Gemma's free kick to, bring it back level there. But then, even though it's not the most glamorous of goals, and I had absolutely no idea what happened, the goal to clinch the title is. I think just for the pandemonium, that's got to be up there as well.
Best scenes of the season. Best scenes of the season. Closely followed, I reckon, probably by the last-minute winner against Rossvale, the midweek game that Shannon Mulligan scored as well, so which was a massive result context of the season. But yeah, for those who have been attending the women's games, give us your thoughts once you listen to the podcast. Just a couple of wee things. Get yourselves down to the stadium for the final home game of the season against Rossvale, where the girls will be presented with a league trophy. It would be great to get as many bums on seats as possible to cheer the girls on for the final time this season. It's been an excellent campaign for them. And also, I believe there's still tickets available for the Player of the Year Awards, which is on the 2nd of June, which you can get through the Fanbase app, where you can get your tickets for the games as well. So get involved with that as well.
Nice speaking about good things, isn't it?
Oh, fucking, what a difference it makes, eh? What a fucking difference it makes.
Next up for Livy is the visit of struggling Dundee United as the Lions look to get back to winning ways in West Lothian. Euan, how are you feeling ahead of this one?
It's kind of a carbon copy of the last couple of weeks, in a sense. Only difference being we're not away from home, which I think is an absolute saving grace at this moment in time. But we're coming up against that side who are in an absolute dogfight at the bottom of the table. They had picked up 3 wins on the bounce prior to the split, which I mind when I was on Open Goal and Andy Winton, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, I was sitting next to him, and a Ross County fan right next to him said, "Oh, well, that's you guys safe now." And Andy was like, "Oh, no, we're nowhere near safe." And Andy, if you're listening, you were spot on, because 2 bad results on the bounce, losing away at St Johnstone and then losing at the weekend there to Ross County, inspired by ex-Livi man Jordan White, has them sitting bottom of the table, 3 points adrift to Kilmarnock now. So this is a massive, massive game for United, and it's a must win. I think their next game is Kilmarnock at home as well. So they have, if they pick up the right results, depending on how Kilmarnock's results goes, it gives them the opportunity to leapfrog them again. So it's a massive game for United. And yeah, it's one of these ones. I said it last week in the preview talking about the Kilmarnock game. We're going to need to match the fight and desire that Dundee United are, you would expect to be showing in terms of trying to stay in the league. So we need to match that on Saturday once again. And albeit our recent performances, you struggle to see where that match of desire is going to come from. But as I say, there's been a difference in how we've played at home compared to away from home in recent months, and we have been better at home, it has to be said. So I'm feeling slightly more confident than I probably have the last couple of weeks, I would say. Because Angus, by the way, see, because I've started being negative on the prediction league, I've actually leapfrogged you. I'm 2 points clear of you now. Because I've just started being negative. I would have romped this league months ago had I shown a bit of negativity.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea what to think about this. I'm just kind of, as you said, scunnered quite a lot. Yeah, is there any excitement for the game? Not massively. That last Dundee United performance was absolutely abysmal. On paper, should that kind of be a similar thing? It's going to be, kind of the two teams playing each other once again. They've got something to play for, we don't. Is that going to be a difference in the end? Possibly. The way that we've been playing, yeah. I like it's very doom and gloom, Euan, but it's no other kind of way to put it. It's not something to kind of look forward to. And we can talk whatever we want about team selection and all of that. It doesn't matter what teams been playing the last couple of weeks. It's just been absolutely rubbish itself. And we went there on that final day before the split. We had probably the best 11 we could probably have put out, and didn't even lay a hand on them. So who knows? Maybe we're hoping that the home form will properly kick in here. We can test that goalkeeper that they have this time round as well, and hopefully maybe get some joy out of that. But much bigger performances needed from these players. I think there's really too much to kind of say. This is just what Livi's going to show up, basically.
Yeah, it is a case of that. And as much as I've complained about our away day woes of late, Dundee United's away day woes are probably even worse than ourselves. They've only won 2 games on the road all season. I think it's 11 points they've picked up in total. And they've conceded 30 goals in 17 games on the road. I think scored 14. So looking at the stats, so they've not exactly been great going away from home this campaign, albeit one of their rare away victories over the course of the season was against ourselves in the League Cup. So they have been to our place and been successful this season, and they also picked up a point in the last game back in March. You could argue was maybe slightly against the run of play on that night. But yeah, it depends what Livingston turn up for me, because you need to expect that Dundee United are going to come out. They're desperate for points. They're absolutely desperate for points. They're going to try and come out a little bit, try and put us on the back foot. If they do get in front, I think they're going to be very similar to what they were at Tannadice, and they're going to be very compact and difficult to break down. But I feel the first goal's very, very important in the game. If we score first, it puts all the pressure on Dundee United. And I think that then opens the game up for us a little bit more if we can get that first goal. Whether we get that or not,
if we don't get the first goal, we're not coming back, are we?
Well, that's the thing. You look at our form over the season. We've only come back from a losing position once this season, which was at Rugby Park back in November. We picked up 3 points from losing positions all season. So, as you say, the first goal is going to be incredibly important. I think the 2 players that we really need to watch out for, Stephen Fletcher's an obvious one. He's their top goal scorer this season with 8 goals, a couple of assists to add to that as well. Jamie McGrath's hit a little bit of form in recent weeks. He's got, I think, 7 goals for the season. Again, a couple of assists, albeit a number of these goals have probably come from the penalty spot, I would imagine. So those are players that you're going to have to watch out for. The young lad, Rory McLeod's been kind of paired up front recently with Stephen Fletcher. So kind of big man, little man partnership. They've been kind of going with it since Jim Goodwin's come in. So your centre halves are going to have to be very switched on. I was very impressed with Stephen Fletcher in the recent couple of games. I watched him numerous times over his career for Scotland as well, and his ability with his head is quite frightening, actually, in terms of being able to pass the ball with his head and land it at someone's feet. It's a rare talent that he's got with that. But yeah, kind of fully expect Dundee United to be setting up a back three, a 3-5-2. Niskanen's been the one that's been playing on the right-hand side. Whether you put Joel up against him, get Bruce through the middle again. I know Joel played as the kind of number 9 at the weekend, so we've seen Joel earlier in the season cause Dundee United a lot of problems in the wide areas. So, albeit he wasn't as effective in the recent game at Tannadice, so be interesting to see what we do there. But I'd like to see us try and play with a little bit more width than we did at the weekend. Obviously, we played Pittman and Stephen Kelly as kind of almost 2 inside 10s. I'd like to see Stephen Bradley come back into the side, either Joel out on the wing. Maybe be interesting to see Bahambula back in the side as well, just to offer something a little bit more creative, a little bit of unpredictability about it. I know he's maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but he has the ability to get fans excited, which I think the fans need a little bit of that just now.
This moment as well, I think we'd rather have somebody like him trying to do something as opposed to, what we've been subject to for the last couple of months. If he goes and tries to do about 5 step overs and, messes up, at least he's done something. At least he's tried to do something. Can't really say that too much for the last couple of weeks, right?
That's what I mean. I feel he offers something a little bit creative and a little bit unorthodox and different. And I feel, as you say, because the performances of late have been a bit flat, and especially in the final third, we've looked a bit toothless in both boxes, both our defensive 18-yard box and the offensive 18-yard box. So it would be interesting to see somebody like a Bahambula come in who maybe offers something that little bit different, a little bit of a creative spark. Be interesting to see if they would find a way to kind of fit him into the side. But Angus, we'll go prediction. What are you going for?
My positive shout is a draw. My realistic shout, I'm going to go for Dundee United to win 2-1.
Dundee United to win 2-1. I'm really struggling as well with positivity, and the fact recent weeks have been negative and I've got more points. It's swaying me towards being negative, but you know what? I'll go.
This is the prediction league on the line, by the way.
Yes. I'm overthinking it now. I'm overthinking it. I'm gonna go 1-1. I'll go 1-1. So you're going a 2-1 defeat. I'm going 1-1.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see. But hopefully the team can respond back on home plastic. Hopefully they can produce a performance to give the fans something exciting to look forward to going into the tail end of the season. That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livi. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in week in, week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Euan said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, so search Talk Livi to find us. You'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, and all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this week, and thanks again to all our listeners for tuning in. As always, let's hope for a much better week following the Lothian's finest football team.
Livingston, oh Livingston, the Armaville Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston,